We can literally step out of our body and begin to allow surgical pain, to allow back pain, neuro pain, addiction pain, lack pain, limitation pain. We can begin to transcend into the wholeness that we really are and begin to realize that. And, realizing is a big word. We begin to realize that, meaning realize it in our energetic body now. And then we make it real by allowing it to come forward into our body temple. And we begin to experience that in the body of our affairs. And it begins to, this is where consciousness, it begins the creative medium of fullness. And it starts to show up as our life.
Hello and welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast, where we're building healthy masculinity in the world. It's great to have you with us. I'm Eamon, and today's guest is Reverend Michael Benjamin. Let me share a little bit about this amazing man. Michael is a lifelong student and teacher of consciousness and the science of mind philosophy, with over 30 years dedicated to exploring self-realization and wholeness. He holds a master's degree in consciousness studies and has co-facilitated transformational workshops and men's circles across the country. Michael's work blends spiritual principles with practical tools for awakening authentic power and compassion in daily life. His message emphasizes that true strength arises through willingness, the courage to be open, present, and aligned with the spirit within. Welcome, Michael. It's great to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's great to be with you, Eamon. It's good to see you again. Missed you at the Big Sky. I'm sorry, not the Big Sky, but the Anson conference a few weeks ago. Yeah.
It was. You were missed. You were missed. It was wonderful. It was great to meet you the previous year. That's when I met you and Allie. It was such an amazing time. Then Allie had me on her show, The Growing Edge Live. So it was so much fun to get to do that with her. And so now I've got you on this podcast. So this is awesome, man. I really appreciated your talk on the power of willingness that you just did for the summit. And I'd love to dive deeper into that. The openness of how willing am I right now? And it's almost like that first step into the door of just being open and being willing, being open to the possibility and being able to see what will show up and what does show up is pretty amazing, at least in my experience in this New Thought philosophy. But will you go a little deeper into just willingness?
Yeah, it's a personal testimony thing right there. As I've been entrepreneurial in my life, and I've always been self-employed, and I would say I suffered from busy mind, and busy mind, complex, if you will, where I've got a million things going on, and doing spiritual work, whether it was early morning, late in the afternoon, midday, whatever it was, I found it difficult. I was guilty early in the years, 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, of saying, I really find it difficult to get quiet. I find it difficult to stay here in this awareness. And so at one point I had this realization where it was like, yeah, but are you willing? Are you willing? Are you willing to give yourself permission? And then it became clear to me that willingness is the gateway. Like sometimes if I ask myself, are you willing? I might hear no. And then I might ask myself, should I be willing? Or is not being willing, healthy boundary thing? Like, is that a good thing?
Yeah.
but through conscious living, you can make that conscious choice, right? So it really is a gateway to the next step. Like, I don't begin to meditate without giving myself that question. Are you willing to sit down and have a meditative moment right now? Are you willing to have an expanded, experience right now?
Beautiful. That's a great invitation to the self, right? To go, hey, is everybody on board there?
Yeah, I mean, really, like when you come into this, begin to have these realizations, you realize nobody can do this for me. Like, it's only up to me. Like, nobody decides for me how effective I can meditate, or how effective I can quiet my mind or tune into what's real. Only I can do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's the inner world. It's that inner dialogue. It's that inner growth that really allows that expansion. The external world just will never be enough for us, as you talked about in your sharing. And it's really that inner world that brings that true fulfillment and moving into that. I loved what you said, your acronym, surrender to one power, or STOP. And just as a reminder to just stop and go, can I surrender to that right now? Can I surrender to my greater good? Can I surrender to that? Share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's, again, being entrepreneurial, self-employed, there's so much that it's like, I've got so much to do. I've got so much to get done. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to, all that, right? And that's all just BS, right? That's just all belief system stuff. You touched on the fact that I inspired the realization that there's no person, place, or condition that is the source of my supply, right? That it's not out there. I was guilty for years of, when I get there, then, when I this, then, when I get the new truck, or I get the second dozen homes in my investment portfolio, or when I this, or when I that then I'm going to be better, right? Only to find that wherever I show up, there I am.
Yeah. That's the real sense of fulfillment. That's what really opens us up. That's what really brings new possibility into our world.
Yeah.
Instead of reversing it and trying to work from when I'm successful outside, when I see that outside of myself, then I can have it. But instead, really, and it's always been this way, it's when I can see it within myself, that's when it'll show up in the external world. That's when the greater abundance, greater joy, greater peace, greater connection with the universe, greater connection with others really begins to show up. Yeah.
It's like I've I don't know if you know this about me, but I've been spiritual care and hospice chaplain for years. Mm-hmm. And I sat with hundreds and hundreds of people as they were nearing end of life things. Mm-hmm. And I've had the opportunity to process through and rehash life with old guys, right? Old guys that were involved in times in history, at war and other places, faraway places and things, where they were really struggling with things that they did, people that they hurt, of all different types, right? Some really interesting things, like that they would feel better if they had a moment with a child in a village somewhere, or they would feel better, with prostitution and all kinds of things, right? And so as we've had these opportunities to talk, it's like they realized that not only did they not feel better when they did those things, that they actually felt worse. Like they were buying a bill of goods, right? Yeah. That this temporary thing, like wherever you go, there we are. and you can't hide from yourself, right? So much good comes from a willingness to move into the awareness that I'm not my body. I'm not even my mind. And I literally came into being having this human evolutionary experience naked with everything I needed. Like, look at all the stuff that's grown, like how easy life unfolds, really, when we see it with an expanded awareness that, like, literally life is just a continuous stream of happenings and there's no shortfall. And so we don't really have to work hard for money. We don't really have to get shit done. Like, all these things that I was afflicted with when I was young from my belief systems literally, have fallen away. And I get to literally give myself a stop, surrender to the one power. We literally, the truth of our being, I'm not my body. I'm that which has a body. I'm not my mind. I'm that which has a mind. I'm beyond that. And so there's literally a living power that is, beyond earth, that is literally, there's a saying, it's called the universe, which means one song. And we literally get to realize that there's literally billions of suns in this galaxy.
Yeah.
That there's trillions of planets in this galaxy, and that there's trillions of planets. And when we start to go from that expanded 30 million foot non-physical view, we begin to have this realization that even the Earth is smaller than a grain of sand on the Pacific coast in the state of California.
Right. I love that, Michael. I too, and your meditation was beautiful around that. I too have a meditation that's very similar, in expanding. How do we experience that universal and that multiverse and that cosmic, the everything of everything? That is the allness of which we're a part of. And it is that creative power that is in, through, and as everything, that is literally, as you spoke to, the atomic experience of, protons, neutrons, electrons spinning around, creating this electromagnetic experience, creating this light, this energy that is conscious then with us, with these 7 octillion atoms within our body. And, how that can really nurture, how that we can really see the finite part of ourselves and the whole part of ourselves. So the infinite to the finite is just, I think, huge.
It's freeing, right? Because for me, it's freeing because I used to be so self-identified with the human body, and ultimately through the ego, right? So there's, different aspects of the mind, one of which is the ego mind, which acronymically means edging God out, right? Has all this limiting, self-degrading thoughts. You're never enough, you're not worthy, she doesn't want to hear from you, like all this BS stuff, right? Or we can expand into the broader mind, which is infinite in its ability to create ideas, infinite in its ability to download ideas or upload ideas to you. The question is, are you willing to inquire into that expanded mind? Right?
Yeah.
And if you are, then you can begin to, I have been able to stay surrendered into that oneness, to the all-providing activity of the divine life, into the infinitude, which is unlimited, literally in all ways. And it's in that place that I can begin to give other people permission to do the same. To free them, in my mind, from being my good, right?
Yeah.
Free them from having to be my source,
Yeah.
Because no person, place, or condition is the source of my good.
Yeah.
Rather, the all-providing activity of life is. Right? That's the truth.
Yeah.
So the question is, are you willing to have that experience?
Yeah. Foundational step. And then maybe that next step is to give ourselves permission to say yes. I deserve this. It's a part of me. It's, I am one with this infinite, and it has accessibility. It's literally created everything's planets and, solar systems and galaxies and universe, the whole cosmos. And, it has access to everything that is in existence. So what do I want to align myself with? And even going back to the men who were in war, the soldiers, to find that place of forgiveness, that in an extremely traumatic experience for them and for others, to have to take someone's life, I can't imagine what that would be like. I can't imagine how horrifying and the damage that was done. And it's still done, we see with PTSD, we see with all of these stuff. And especially with that generation, they didn't really do the processing that we do nowadays. So they kind of just lived with it. And I can see how that would be such a powerful experience to, with your hospice work with these guys, to be able to give them some peace of mind and to be able to give them some maybe forgiveness, blessing of themselves before they made that transition. And
so important, to have realization. I'm just speaking from first position here, right?
Yeah.
Because forgiveness work, like in the 12 steps, for an example, right? One of the things that we do is go ask forgiveness, right? We go to our people that we maybe hurt or left short, or through inaction or actions or whatever that is, that we would seek them out and apologize, right? But I think even more powerful is to not necessarily ask them to forgive me, right? But to just say sorry, right? Because ultimately, the only person that can forgive me is me.
Yeah.
Right? It's not them. Again, whether they forgive me or not. I mean, thankfully haven't hurt people in my life necessarily. I mean, I've definitely, my actions and inactions have affected my wife at times, right? But even then, like the pain that I feel when I have the realization that, canceling our special Saturday together so I could take a meeting somewhere because the meeting ultimately felt more important to me because I needed to get this deal so that I could whatever, right? As I've done these things in the past, like she's always lovingly said, yep, well, that's fine. But there was a place in her heart that was like, where am I? Where are we in this world of deals that he's doing, right? And there was years that it was somewhere low on the list because deals were more important, right? And so, as I've had those realizations and become aware of that, it was pretty painful for me. Because really, what's more important than the love of my wife, right? What's more important other than the love of self, right? Other than the love of self, what's more important than spending quality time with my beloved? At the end of the day, we're going to ascend and leave this body. And as fun as it is to play the game of Monopoly, or as fun as it is to play the game of going on vacations, or to play these games that the ski and all these things that we do, as fun as it is, there's few things that feel better than having a deep and meaningful tryst with my wife. Yeah. And physical possessions aren't going to ascend with me.
Yeah.
Like money in my bank account's not going to ascend with me, or the lack of money in my bank account will not ascend with me.
Yeah.
But I do believe the energy, the vibe, and maybe the mind, the thoughts, all that we're learning, I think that does go.
Yeah.
I think that grows with me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I just want to hang out with my wife and know that I'm there for her, like I vowed to do, right?
Yeah.
To actually sit with her in the fire of life.
To be there and be present for those that we love and for ourselves, and that doingness out there in the world, as important as it is sometimes, and versus the beingness in here and the presence in here of with self and others. It's,
Oh my
I
God.
think the more I experience in life, the more I recognize that is really the place. That's the thing. As much doingness as we want to do, as much as we want to, amass abundance and want to, do good in the world and all of that stuff. If we're coming from a place of that lack, if we're coming from a place of that pain or that struggle or that ego kind of defensiveness, or ego, lift ourselves up. Oh, I feel better because I'm doing this in the world, and not judge it. I don't want to judge that harshly, because a lot of my life was about doing in the world. I'm owned my own business for many years too, and got great gratification out of that, in helping people, have a home remodel or fixing something for someone. It is an enjoyable thing to be of service to others in that way.
Oh yeah.
And it's, I often sacrifice myself. You talked in your talk about how do we not only really appreciate others and honor others, but how do we honor ourselves, our yeses and our nos? It's like sometimes I chose yes when it really was a no, and when I really should have taken care of myself. And this, people pleaser in me wanted to, help people and wanted to, make it okay, and wanted to, all of these things that were actually more about me feeling better than actually helping them on some level.
Oh yeah.
And so rather than just taking the time and allowing myself to feel better and taking that effort, taking that energy, or putting that energy into my relationships or my friends or my, whatever it is, whatever else that really called to the soul.
Yeah. In fact, we talk about, the creation of authentic power, right? And authentic power is something that we learn to do, right? And this is where we give everybody permission to be authentically honest. Yeah. And authentic power could come when you are doing the important work of self-care, meaning that we don't always have to be there for other people. We don't always have to be the source of somebody else's good. We don't always have to be somebody else's savior, right? Where we can say, that doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work for me. I've got other things I need to take care of. And, one of my teachers, Reverend Jean Sweet, was famous. One of her famous quotes was this: "No is a complete sentence."
Yes.
Right. And when she was saying that, when she was teaching that to me, I couldn't simply just say no. Like, I had to follow up with all this lengthy explanation. And no is a complete sentence. Just let it lie, she would say. Just let it lie.
Yeah.
Because other people, contrary to my egoic opinion, I am not the source and supply of that person's good.
Yeah.
And other people, the beloved and the other people, will find their way.
Yeah.
Without you. They don't always need you, right?
And it's more empowering that way for them too, to be able to go, oh yes, I don't need this other person. I'm whole, perfect, and complete in myself. So when we're taking care of ourselves, we're actually modeling that healthy behavior for others. Yeah, beautiful.
And allowing ultimately the all providing activity of divine life within us all is the source and supply of our existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's true, commonly when I would check back in with people after I finally said no or something, right? And I would say, oh, how did that work out? Oh, it was amazing. You wouldn't believe it. All this blah, 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 blah. It's like, what? The world didn't, the world doesn't come through me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course it worked out. My neighbors showed up, my mom, my brother, like a million and one ways, right? I mean, that's how life grows. So just, giving ourselves permission, surrendering into the one power is a very powerful realization to have, to give ourselves permission to be authentic to what's righteous for me and for others.
Yeah.
Right.
And as you said, I am that which has a body and has a mind. I am not that body. I'm not that mind. To be able to pull it out into the more metaphysical context and go, yeah, I don't need to be attached to these things. The world will keep spinning. Life will keep happening. People will keep doing what they're doing because it's in their highest good. It's in their interest. It's in their soul growth on some level. Yeah.
That's a powerful tool for pain management. And that's an extremely powerful tool for addiction management, right? Because when we're literally self-identifying with the body and it's going through withdrawal, we feel like we need whatever that was, whatever that ailment or whatever that substance was. When we begin to snap into attention, stop, surrender into one power, and we begin to realize that I'm not my body, but rather I'm that which has a body. I'm not my mind, I'm that which has a mind. And we begin to give ourselves permission, willingness to explore into that. We will literally begin to have an outer body experience. And we begin to have this experience with the fullness, which is our real state. And we will not feel the pain that the body is associated. Like literally having an MBSR, mindful based stress reduction, we can literally step out of our body and begin to allow surgical pain, to allow back pain, neuro pain, addiction pain, lack pain, limitation pain. We can begin to transcend into the wholeness that we really are and begin to realize that. And realizing is a big word. We begin to realize that, meaning realize it in our energetic body now. And then we make it real by allowing it to come forward into our body temple. And we begin to experience that in the body of our affairs. And it begins to, this is where consciousness, it begins the creative medium of fullness. And it starts to show up as our life.
That step back into the observer place is exactly what you were talking about. And I am not that which has a body and a mind. I am that which has a body and a mind. Not I am that body. I am this body. I am this mind. Yeah, I am these feelings. Yeah. Beautiful, Michael. Yeah, that's incredible. I also loved what you said, like being in the moment. You were talking about, life is beating this heart. And I can so relate to that. I just love that because that's how I look at it, is the unconditional love of spirit. It's beating my heart, 60 times a second, every single day, 365, since I was literally just a little fetus to, until hopefully I'm an old man and, the heart finally stops or, life finally stops. what a powerful way. And there's a whole biological and all that stuff. So we can get into the logical mind part of, oh, that's not spirit beating your heart. But on some level, it is, right? Because it's made out of atoms, it's made out of cells, it's made out of muscle. It's all of that stuff, that life animating force that's in and through all of those things, that consciousness that is in everything, that creative life force. They call that panpsychism, or we call that panpsychism. Consciousness is in everything. And to be able to feel that, heartbeat, spirit's beating my heart. And just that surrender for me is a powerful.
It sure is. I mean, just that, again, because we're dually focused source energy, right? We got this spiritual reality, right? But then we're also out here in the third dimension, thinking that, whatever, that, all these kids, I go to the gym, I row like 10,000 meters 3 to 5 days a week, right? And I see all these people doing pre-workout stuff, right? It's not cheap. They're spending hundreds of dollars, sometimes a month, on all this stuff, right? Just so they can get ready. It's like, dude, you were born ready. Like, it's your real state. Like, how simple is it to tune in to that energetic vibratory, which is literally what you really are.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. To connect with our community of like-minded men and access our full library, including summit talks, meditations, podcasts, weekly online men's groups, and so much more. Become a member today at newthoughtmens.community/membership. And now back to the podcast.
It's beating your heart. It's multiplying your blood cells. It's creating, this whole evolutionary experience of the human condition, but not only the human condition, but the trees and the birds and the fish and the pollen and gravity and all we could just go on. And I could literally keep going this entire podcast, and we cannot get to the end of it all. There's no way we could. So keeping it simple, that philosophy of KISS, right? Literally just having a moment that we realize there's something beating our heart and we don't even need to tell it how to do it. Is so relaxing and so enlivening for me that it's like, wow, I can turn to this realization and begin to realize that everything that is necessary for the next second is already available. I don't have to do it. There's something within me that's doing it.
Yeah. It's ready. When we're in the now moment, it's ready. It's there and present. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, Michael. When we were talking about, your work with hospice and, all of that, you had mentioned this, this part within all of us that I'm never going to die. This is this eternal youth or teenager or, idea that, we don't want to die because this is me. We're attached to it. And the evolution and the growth of the soul, through this experience of being human, through valuing our life because there's an end to that life, that we have this limited time and we don't know. It's the mystery, right? We don't know how long we have. We may have 5 more minutes. We may have 50 more years, coming to terms with and looking at the reality of, I am not this body, and this body will pass. And then, as Ernest Holmes said, we'll spiral upwards. We'll become that, which is on that subtler energetic on a different frequency in a different way, but we'll still be us. We get to take that with us.
Yeah, it's that the hospice chaplaincy experience is so valuable. I mean, it was so valuable to me to sit with people in terms of helping them or listening to them, process all of their stuff. And then, really, having had a lot of training prior to hospice chaplaincy work, I had the ability to intellectualize, and I'd even had some deep and profound spiritual realizations and spiritualist experiences. But there's nothing quite like feeling the spirit blast out of the body, to have this realization that it doesn't end. Like, literally, I've felt the energy, and not only physically, like in my arms. Like, I remember I was holding one of my patients in my arms, and she was literally, her lungs were literally filling up, and it was pretty uncomfortable. And so wanting to sit forward was her, like, something within her wanted to sit forward, but there was a fall risk, because sitting forward in the moments leading up to, you don't have a lot of strength, right? And so I realized that as she was sitting forward, the gravity was keeping the fluid, and there was room for air. So there was this comfort, this peace evoked in the body. It helps her settle with less panic, right? So I got behind her and I laid on the bed, and I was holding her literally from behind so she could sit forward. And in this, I felt this relax. And then near the end, I felt this amazing force where she literally leaned into me with the force of 1,000 men. And then all of a sudden jumped forward. And if I wasn't holding her, she would have hit the sliding glass door that was 3 or 4 feet away from her.
Wow.
And it ascended like whoosh, like it left. Like, and that was for me. Like, that experience, that moment between, it was just her and I in the room, but it was like literally for me to feel the body literally, or the spirit literally flashing into the no-thingness from which we came, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no dying here. Like, yeah, we ascend, we leave the body, and the body's gonna, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, cremation, whatever. But this ascension that occurred, I literally felt in my hands, right? And it was like, wow, the veil is thin, Yeah. The veil between the physical and the non-physical is thin. Like, it's just amazing, right? So, I don't want people to leave. We don't want our loved ones to go. But as you said, we're not here in this physical human experience forever. We came, we're going to live, and we're going to grow. And so that being said, it's like, let's just evolve and know the wholeness of each moment best we can, and experience this wholeness as we're evolving. And in that, we will experience a lot more peace with the happenings of things.
Yeah. Oh, Michael, it reminded me of my dad recently passed, is coming up on 3 years, and I got to spend the last 5 days with him. And the only kind of even close to understanding and experience with that was going through ministerial school and going through that process of how to show up for people in a hospice kind of situation. And it was incredible. I'm so grateful that I was there. We got to have those kind of conversations like you had with, with those other men. And I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, is there anything you need to get off your chest? Anything you regret? Anything that, you want to, let go of to release your burden? And he's like, no, I'm good. I lived a good life. I'm just so grateful. And, and it was honest and genuine too, for him. He was a very loving and kind man. He had his moments, as all of us do as human beings, but it was so beautiful and then having our, most of our family around him, those moments when he was passing. I didn't feel, it wasn't the same experience that you experienced in that one experience with the gal, but his passing and just him leaving. And it was just like, wow. And it was kind of an awe-inspiring experience. And he did it with such grace. I was like, wow, okay. Thank you. And it was really a beautiful moment, instead of maybe being a traumatic moment, for our family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's when because the subject matter that we're really talking about this month as we're leading up to the conference is the awakened masculine.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when we begin, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and I've got daughters and I have granddaughters and so forth, right? I know that for the first many years, my lady would come to me with a problem, and I made it worse. I mean, I'd lose my shit, man. Like, to feeling like I had to be the end all be all fix it guy or whatever, and didn't know how to do it because, I'm the fixer, right? And so ultimately, at the end of the day, she would come to me just to tell me whatever it was. And I literally made it about me, and I blow a gasket about how, what do you want me to fix that too? And, all this stuff would come up, right? So what I'm talking about from the awakened masculine, like, what a gift to give ourselves the ability to sit with our loved ones and know the wholeness of each moment, that I am not the source and supply of their existence. That it's not mine to fix, but to actually evoke this love, heart of compassion, if you will, or whatever, and to be able to just hold them in love and in light and be thankful to be their one, their chosen one, to be able to sit with them no matter what. And say, I really feel you, and I feel your pain, and I love you, and I care for you, and I'm really thankful that we're okay right now, right? And that must have been hurtful, or that must have been scary, or I know it was scary because I heard you say how scary it was for you, and to not necessarily, like, to actually be masculine enough to sit in a place of softness is not easy. I mean, it's not easy from that men or from Mars perspective, where we have to be the head of household. We're the patriarch. We've been programmed. Big boys don't cry. Big boys, all this BS, right? And we get to move beyond and to actually just sit with our loved ones, no matter what, and say, I love you.
Yeah.
You mean the world to me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I have had the opportunity to sit here in your pain or your fear or your sorrow, and we're going to be okay. I think that that's more masculine than when I was a badass. right? Back in the day,
Yeah.
that I was hard, and because I don't know how you were raised, but my dad was a hard ass, and I was raised with a lot of belief systems around big boys and don't show people your cards and don't open up and don't be emotional and all these things that I have been able to see beyond and know that he was really doing the best that he could.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my next journey. It wasn't my journey to be like that, like my grandfather, like my father. My journey was to open up my heart and to realize that that I do have the ability to sit with people in their struggle and love them through it and help them realize wholeness, and by realizing that power that's beating their heart, and that I don't necessarily have to, as you talked about earlier on, we have kind of a tendency to give too much, right? Too much time, too much talent, too much treasure at our own expense, even abandoning our loved ones, our responsibilities at home. We don't have to do that.
Yeah. Where I learned that it is in men's work is being in that space with other men, listening to their stories, and just witnessing them, not needing to fix it, not needing to change it, not needing, any of that stuff. And that's what I love about men's work is it really helps us grow in a safe environment and experiment in a safe environment and be able to build these skills so that when, for me, when I move into relationships, when I was in different relationships, it wasn't about, okay, let me, I would still have moments, of course. How can I help? Let me fix that. But there were these other moments when I realized, oh, okay, they just want to be heard. She just wants to be loved. She just wants to be, me to witness and listen. And, after doing men's work for 30 years and sitting in men's circle and doing a lot of practice in the listening part of that, really helped me be a much better partner, really helped me be more loving, more supportive, and more caring for my own self as well as my partner, rather than trying to fix it all the time. Which, I was a contractor, so I wanted to fix shit, when I was young. How can I fix it? How can I make it better? I got the tools in the truck. Let's fix this thing, And to really dive into that and to really explore that and be steeped in that for years and years and years of being in a men's group on a regular basis just really supported me in not needing to do that kind of stuff anymore, to just be able to show up. People just want to be seen, understood. They want to be heard and loved.
Absolutely. It's simpler.
Yeah.
It's simpler. So it's simpler when we awaken to, the all providing activity of life, when we awaken to the awareness of who and what we all are, we realize that the source of that beloved's good is something that they already have, that we literally can then sit with them in a loving place and say, oh, I hear you when you say that was really traumatic, or that was very scary, or hurtful, or whatever, and I know you're enough. Like you're gonna find your way. I'm here to love you through it, right? One of the things I learned in hospice grief training for chaplaincy work was the taboo words of I know what you feel, right? That's like the number one go-to don't do. And the reason being is, the truth is, not what I know, not what somebody else is feeling. There's no way for me to know what they feel. even if I had a similar experience, I don't know what they're feeling, right? And the other thing was, taboo words were, it's going to be okay, right? Because in their world, it may not be okay, right? So, and the reason being was, I don't know exactly what you're feeling, but I hear you saying that this, fill in the blank, that you're feeling scary, or feeling sad, or feeling this. And I know that we're going to find our way. Right? I know we're going to find our way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so powerful. So powerful. Being able to listen and then reflect. This is what I hear you saying. It's way more powerful because it's hard for us to know that on some level. It's hard for us to see, be that outside observer, be that third party. And so to get that reflected, here's what I heard you say, can be just so powerful for, in a group, or so powerful for an individual to say thank you.
Oh my God. And for those of you that are listening that still, are at that space where when your ladies come to you, or your son, or, when one of yours, right, comes to you with problem, and you immediately elevate and lose your shit, make it worse, because, you feel like you're not enough to fix it, right? You're not enough to make it better, and you posture in anger or whatever. I want you to know we love you, and it's okay. Like you did the best that you could, and you definitely have within you the capacity to breathe and to surrender to the one power, and to literally love your children, or your wife, or your loved one, or your sister or sibling, or mother or father, or whoever it is, your coworkers, and to literally just see the light of awareness that we're going to evolve through this, and that it's not yours to fix. And that you can just breathe and say, I feel you, I love you, and I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Whatever word. You can't do it wrong. You can't do it wrong. Even by losing your shit and making it worse, you didn't do it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you just did it the way you did it. But here we sit today, and our heart's beating, and gravity's working, and pollinators are pollinating, and the sun's setting, and time changes tonight. It's going to get darker earlier tomorrow, and in other words, the world's still spinning. It's okay to some degree, right?
I'm doing my best, and that's enough, and that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, Michael, rich conversations here, bro. I really appreciate you. Our time is almost up, so I'm gonna prompt you with the final question on Jeopardy today.
All right.
What does the divine masculine look like in the 21st century?
What does the divine masculine look like in the 21st century? Okay, so, the old, I'm going to talk about what it's not for a second. The old belief system that patriarchal, right? That we're head of household, that belief system was programmed in men for thousands of years. The truth is, life is our source and our supply. We're not the giver of life. Right? So as we move forward in humanity, I think the divine masculine, or the awakened masculine, is going to sit in circle, realizing that evolution is not optional. That source, spirituality, is not optional. Over the years, I've heard so many people say, I'm just not that spiritual. And there's that part of me that's like, you're 100% spiritual. Duh. Like, you don't have a choice on the spiritual thing. It's what's beating your heart, right? Yeah. So religiosity is separated from spiritual, which is your nature, right? And the awakened divine masculine is going to sit in circle, not having to be the fixer. That we're literally, we can bless our ladies that they are whole. And that's the nature of their being. It's not up to us to give that to them. We don't have to fix it.
Yeah.
We get to celebrate it.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it, brother. So everybody, this is kind of wrapping it up for today, but you can find Michael and Allie at thegrowingedgelive.com. And Michael, I'm just so grateful to have you here today, sharing your wisdom and your beauty. Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's good to be here on the Growing Edge with you guys, you know, as hair's transforming and things are happening in the 50s that weren't happening in the 30s. But, you know, sending love to you from Life on the Growing Edge.
Thanks, Michael. And thank you for joining us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.